Hi everybody, hope you're well. Today I will read from a book titled The World's Greatest Architect by William Mitchell, published by MIT Press. I would love to know how God ran his office in the beginning. Somehow he got an amazing amount done. Even a Dubai developer might think that the intelligent design and construction of everything there is in just 6 days was too much of a miracle to ask for. He did have some advantages, of course. For one thing, it was about 6,000 years ago. He's even older than Philip Johnson. There were no contractors yet, certainly none with track records. So there was no bidding process. And omniscience meant that he didn't have to worry about errors and omissions. So he just took on all the liability himself and went design build, which enabled him to bring the project in on time and on budget. It's unfortunate, though, that the water had to be value engineered out of so much of the Middle East. That was short-sighted, and it's still causing operational and maintenance problems. On the first day, as his assistants later recounted, he switched on the lights. Well, it was a start. On the second day, he created the firmament, the world's biggest roof structure, even larger than the Millennium Dome. Then he began to wonder what to do with the space underneath. The thing wouldn't work, he realized, unless he had some hot-ticket attractions lined up. It could just sit there vacant for years. On the third day, he had a brilliant idea. He invented waterfront property, which is what you get when you let the waters under the heaven be gathered onto one place and let the dry land appear. He called the development Earth, and he saw that it was good. The scientific establishment will try to tell you that the Earth coastlines, with all their beautiful intricacies, resulted from natural processes. But could structures that are so complex and so essential for the successful functioning of the real estate industry have arisen through blind chance? I think not. He also put in the landscaping early so that it would mature in time for the opening. The newly bulldozed landfill brought forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit, and the site supervisor saw to it that it was good. On the fourth day, he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. This wasn't strictly necessary, but he was after the Bilbao effect. He wanted some wow. When the zodiac lit up at night, he saw that it was worth every penny. On the fifth day, he discovered CAD monkeys. He hired dozens of them and put them to work on a back room. He blessed them, saying, "Be productive and multiply drawings." He hadn't a clue how they did it, but they soon brought forth abundantly the moving creatures that hath life, the fowl that fly above the earth, the great whales, cattle, creeping things, and every living creature. This includes Paris Hilton, which proves that Darwin was wrong. How could a process of survival of the fittest have produced something so completely and utterly useless? Only a designer could do that. On the sixth day, he got into blobs. He turned a 3D scanner on himself to create a parametric NURBS model in his image, after his likeness. It had 2 structural supports, 2 horizontal extensions, and a sort of spherical thing with 6 openings on top. He assigned it the file name Adam and made a CAD-CAM prototype. Then he adjusted a few variables, substituted a couple of parts, and cloned Eve. The model was mass customizable. It could generate millions of variants, all of them slightly different. He saw everything that he had made, and behold, he was in the magazines. On the 7th day, he got a certificate of occupancy, then took a break. I understand that there was still quite a punch list to work through, though. Nobody's perfect. Following the early success, he brought in partners and restructured GOD Associates LLC, a multidisciplinary full-service firm, a bit like Arob's. GOD competed with SOM and HOK for the big international jobs. Inoch headed up the urban design division. Lamech was into tensile structures and metal fabrication. Noah specialized in marine developments and floating resorts. After a while, Cain went out on his own. Lord God, as he had become, still had his name on the door as the senior design partner. But the truth was that he now spent most of his time doing marketing and pontificating on television. That's why scholars of intelligent design are often hesitant to credit God himself as the actual designer of all things bright and beautiful, all creatures, great and small. Most of them weren't signature projects, just bread and butter office jobs. Not surprisingly then, many of God's projects haven't stood the test of time. Eden didn't look bad in the publicized pictures, but it turned out to be a sterile and boring place to live, like Brasilia, Canberra, and Milton Keynes. Adam and Eve, the original power couple, voted with their feet, like Posh and Bex heading to California. They met a persuasive Apple salesman, got a fig leaf top, Googled some brochures, and were out of there. God's biggest limitation was his authoritarian, top-down approach. He was a real Old Testament character, beard and all. He would just dream something up and go, like, let's there be whatever. He had never heard of Jane Jacobs, and he had no idea that the most complex, diverse, and interesting cities emerge gradually over many years from countless incremental interventions and adjustments. It's a bottom-up process without a master plan. One thing just leads to another, and the most amazing results evolve in completely unexpected ways.